Time for a twins pod.
Then I'm getting sucked off.
Yeah.
I mean, that particular Judge Marchant in New York, he's not, he didn't allow any of the real evidence to be presented that should have been presented. Now, what's going to happen, I think it's September 18th, if I'm not mistaken, is the sentencing date. So that judge, I believe, is going to put Trump in jail.
Really?
And I do. I mean, why wouldn't he?
Right.
I mean, Trump's just been, in his court in front of a jury, has just been convicted of 34, counts. Whether, it's all, to me, it's like, it's just more of the same shit,
Right.
that they're going after this man.
I remember the judge's instructions to the jury before he went to go deliberate. He says as members of the jury, you don't have to
Agree with
what crime he committed.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like when you convict somebody of a crime, everybody has to agree on what that crime was.
Right.
He totally waived all of that.
Yeah. Plus he like chunked and he like put them in blocks.
Right.
The jury into blocks. Like, you guys focus on these, you focus on. I mean, there's just so many bad things. And in our system of justice, if we actually have a fair system, in an appeals process, this thing would be looked at and it would be a joke. But
Trump.
These people should be disbarred.
well, I mean, or more. I mean,
Yeah.
there's
It's actually treason.
It's treason to me because, maybe it's not Marchant so much, but some of these other things that we've been talking about, these people undermined a duly elected president of the United States, not only as he was coming into office after he had been elected, but then they decided to actually do it when he was the president.
Yes.
And you know what's
That's
funny?
called treason.
Yeah, you know what's funny? They keep saying Republicans are a threat to democracy.
Yeah. Well, some Republicans are.
Yeah.
Pence is one of them, right?
I mean, some Republicans are.
Right.
One of them is just over in Ukraine the last 24 hours with a stolen Valor Democrat, two senators. Okay.
Waltz.
Oh no, not Waltz. I'm talking about guys that are. Waltz is governor of Minnesota. He's got other problems, right?
Right.
But Lindsey Graham and Blumenthal out of Connecticut. I mean, Blumenthal, you were a Marine. Blumenthal lied about his service.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people think this is a Democrat. It's not a Democrat or Republican thing. It's everybody.
Yeah, it's not. This is there is such a there's such a strong hold, like a chokehold. Principally in Washington, D.C., but what I think a lot of people have seen, and I've discovered this as I've gone around the country, and I like to go, I like to stop at like gas stations, and I like to go down into churches, and I like to go into go walk the street and go talk to people, grassroots people, and go, so how do you feel? A lot of people feel the same way. This chokehold that we've seen in Washington, D.C. by these corrupt politicians, it actually is starting to permeate down into the local level, down into, district attorneys who they're releasing like murderers and they're throwing, somebody who smoked some pot, into jail or not even that, right? Of somebody who protested at a Planned Parenthood, center. So you protest, you get thrown in jail, you murder, don't worry, we'll give you, probation for 6 months.
Yeah, what's that happened up in Loudoun County, I think? It was at a school board meeting.
Yeah, it was children.
And the parents.
Yeah.
And they called them terrorists?
Well, a young girl was raped, I think, in a bathroom by a kid, another young kid in the school. The school knew about it. The school
Transgender, right?
It transgender was part of the whole problem, but a young girl was raped. They ended up moving the child that raped her to another school. They knew about it in the school system. They did it without telling the parent. They find out the blew up in the school board hearing, and the father went to the school board hearing. And you can imagine. I don't know if you guys get.
Right.
I have kids and I have grandkids, and I would have freaked out. I would have acted just like that dad. I might have even done something worse.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so how did the intelligence community get involved with that?
Well, it's not so much that as the down at the local level. What has happened is the intelligence community at the top level works to basically try to control who's ever in power. right? So you got an elected official or a guy like me. So as a military officer, I'm going to be appointed into a job, and I'm only going to be there for a short period of time. A couple of, in my case, a couple of years. You're typically a commander, or you're in a job for a couple of years. Well, these bureaucrats sit there and they go, okay, this guy thinks he's going to be a tough guy, and he's going to come in here and do all these things. We'll just wait him out because we're going to be here for like 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. Bureaucrats now, right? And then you get these members of Congress, and you get these members of the House or the Senate, and they're there for like 6 years, 12 years, 20 years. I mean, Joe Biden's 50 years.
Right.
So you get these people that they're so they forget why they're there. Maybe when they were young and they were full of it, they were like, I'm going to go and I'm going to save the world, right? And then they get there and somebody goes, okay, I can take care. What's your house payment? You got a house here? Don't worry about it. We'll take care of you. What's your house payment? You're from what state? Florida or Nevada? I'll take care of that. Don't worry about it. You got kids going to school. In fact, we know you got 3 kids in school, 2 kids in college, or 1 kid getting ready to go. We'll take care of that. You want to, I see that you like boating. I mean, these are the kinds of things that happen. Okay, and that's the corruption, the extortion in many cases, right? And these people, they take it. They absolutely take it. There's very few, probably, maybe this many senators, okay? The fingers on my hand, maybe. And I that's really highballing it to say that there's 5 senators, U.S. senators, that are not compromised, okay? Members of the House, there's very, very few members of the House that aren't compromised. Compromise being either you've done something like I just described and you accepted it, or you got caught doing some other weird stuff, right? Like you got caught doing some, hanky panky.
He got caught banging a trainee behind the
whatever
Congress.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Sorry about that.
No, I'm like, say what?
Nobody wants that to get out.
No, oh my God. But that's the kind of,
right.
They go overseas. So members of the House and members of the Senate, they go on these delegations overseas, okay? And these people overseas are smart. And they get them, and they check you out. They study you before you come over. And they know you like Manhattans, right? Or they know you like a little bit of extra whiskey in your drink or whatever it is. You like this stuff. Or they find out that you got an extramarital affair going on back home and, you've been married to some same woman maybe for 25 years or whatever, and you got a little extramarital thing going on and, she's like 19, 18, 17 back home. And so they present that kind of thing to you while you're overseas, okay? And they nail you. And maybe you got a different way to look at people. Like you're looking at, maybe you're in the behavior where you're in that LGBTQ plus XYZ community. So they find out about that, and they will put those things in front of you while you're there.
Pictures.
And pictures, videos, And so most members, especially when they first come in, are not that smart. These people are not that smart.
Right.
They might have education from, somewhere else. They might have Harvard and Yale and, Princeton. It's all bullshit.
Right.
And there's a very few, like I love to see a lot of veterans. There's more and more veterans that are stepping up, and I love to see that because at least they have a little bit of, particularly the ones that I am aware of, they got a little bit of school of hard knocks, and they've been tested in a different way. And I do believe that their patriotic spirit will override the desire that these others will take the corrupt, and create this sort of corrupt activity. But there are a few that have fallen for it. So anyway, this is what happens.
Right.
So this is the reality. What I'm telling you and your audience, this is the shit that happens. And because frankly, this is the kind of stuff that our government tries to do against some people because the world of intelligence in the government against government, in the spying world is a very real thing. This is not Mission Impossible or or James Bond. This is real stuff. It's hard work and it's necessary. And if you're going to cross a line, you have to get permission to cross the line. If you're going to cross an ethical or a moral line, you got to get permission to do it. and if it's for the good of the country and it's being handled properly by the right people who are frankly honest and they track it but see that's like everything that I'm telling you, forget about that because it doesn't exist.
Right.
Okay.
Look, everybody, inflation is out of control, and this problem's only going to get worse.
The value of silver, gold has been steadily rising, while the value of the American dollar has been falling.
PurpleBar.com is changing the game, making it easy for all of us to protect our financial futures. The bars are perforated so they can easily break apart and can be conveniently exchanged. Go to PurpleBar.com and use promo code Hodgetwins and you get 5% off gold bars. And you get 10% off silver bars. Yeah.